So this is to explain what happened in regards to territorial warfare in Tasmania. I was in Tasmania for 18 months just before going to Dallas, and before going to Tasmania I was praying for Tasmania. Now Tasmania has a reputation for witchcraft. This is known in other parts of Australia, and also for pedophilia. Pedophiles were moved to Tasmania after having a sentence. And there's also the Aboriginal dream time, which is also witchcraft. So this has been a well-known thing. And when I went to the US, someone even knew about it there. So now, when I went to Tasmania, I was travelling around the state very frequently and covering a lot of parts of the state because I was letterboxing tracks into rural and regional, not the bigger centres. Did about 18,000 dwellings. And I was also delivering Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, New Testaments and Bibles, all around the state, mainly to op shops, who would then give them away for free. And a lot were taken, people were taking them. And during that time, God doubled the number of places where those Gospels could be delivered to. So that's pretty amazing. On my travels, I also met a lot of people, believers and non-believers along the way. And so when I would travel, I would, if there was a lookout or mountain or a river, a beach, I would stop and do spiritual warfare there, and in regards to that particular area. And then there's about 10 councils which cover the whole area, the whole of Tasmania. So I'll pray about those councils because they seem to have a lot of power. There's a lot of corruption and a lot of nepotism. And then I would pray for all of Tasmania. So that's what I was doing, going around doing that. And if I found evidence of people creating like an altar, like a small part of rocks in a particular shape or anything like that, I would kick it over. And so I was doing that for a period of time. And there's this one town where I got to meet a number of Christians, and I also met a lady who's not a Christian. And people will talk about the oppression in that, the spiritual oppression in that town. And she said that yes, it was spiritually oppressed, but things had lightened. So I was on my way to that town one day, and when I was getting into town, God said to me, the chains have broken. And I mentioned this to a couple of the people that lived in that town, a couple of the Christians, and they said that about half a week before they were together and God gave them the same message. Yet they were still acting as if there was this huge spiritual oppression that didn't enable them to be doing the work of God. And I decided I wanted to go to Lake Pedder. So I went out there and stayed there for a few days. And on the way back, I went down south. There's a road there that's only there because of a dam. And so I went all the way to the dam, and then the road ends and that's it. There's no more road. There's mountains everywhere. There's really thick bush. Tasmania has a lot of wilderness. And on the way there, I had this thought, which I know now that God gave to me for a reason. And it was, God, I can pull down the spiritual altars, but I can't pull down the physical altars like the kings of old did in the Old Testament. So I arrived at the very end of the road and went up to this lookout and drove up there. And at this lookout in the centre was a big flat rock. Now, they've been putting up touristic monuments around Tasmania, and they end up looking like Stonehenge, and some of them have like a big flat rock in the middle, like for sacrifice. So it can be pretty in your face. And what I saw there was a Druid cross, about a foot long, made of a chalky substance. I didn't take a photo of it because I didn't want that to be the focus. God is a focus, His power, love and patience for us, His holiness and His justice. And so I knew what to do, and the thought, I mean, I would have done it anyway if I hadn't had the thought. I don't even think it confirmed it. It was God just showing me that He's with me and I was where I was supposed to be, which is pretty amazing. And so the cross being so soft, the chalky material, I was able to break it up with my hands, and then I pushed it into a bush. And then I thought, oh, smash. So I got a few pieces out and smashed it with my foot. And right at that point when I said that, God said to me, the tide has turned. Because people believe that there's this big spiritual oppression over Tasmania, and there has been for a number of different reasons, the ones I mentioned before. And Tasmania has very particular characteristics unique to the place. It's an island, and from its history, it's just a very interesting place. The people there are different to other parts of Australia. If you went to Tasmania and thought people were like that in other parts of Australia, they're not. And so that was amazing. You know, the warfare had an effect, and we know it. God said the tide had turned, and I told people that. I don't know if they're very willing to hear it, because it may be easier to believe that there's a spiritual oppression that doesn't enable them to do God's work. And I've also found that a lot of Christians, they were waiting for God to do something. He's going to do this, and they believe that God would do something, that they would then be walking in this great miraculous power. And so it's the wait. The churches say that, Christians I knew were saying that it's that waiting for God when He's waiting for us, because He's fully equipped us and He wants to see people set free. And God gave His Son, and His Son gave His body and blood to us that we may live free of bondage. And Jesus is victorious, and the enemy is under our feet, as well as every situation. In the middle of the year, for about the last 10 years, it's been this really horrendous event, which is all over the capital of Tasmania, Hobart. And it's so well known that even people from overseas come to participate. And yeah, I went there last year and I prayed with some young people, because I knew the family of one, so I went with them. And yeah, this time a group of believers put together a number of events, which included going out, sharing the gospel, praying for people, setting people free, but a few other events like giving out pancakes and that. It was really well done. It was really good. And the thing is it's not about giving out pancakes, but the thing is to continue with that. And it's not just like a fun event for 2 weeks. And then when they were praying, I guess about spiritual oppression, it was very much as if it was still very strong there. And I didn't believe it was still very strong in Tasmania at all. And yeah, that's basically the territorial warfare that we are to do so that people can be set free.